Hey guys, welcome back to our restoration project. So today we're going to have a close-up look at our seat belts and see exactly what's involved in restoring these and getting these back to good, safe, usable condition. One of the problems with the aftermarket seat belts is they really don't have the look or the feel of the original seat belts. So if you're doing a concours restoration, this is something that can really make a big difference here. And honestly, I have not seen a lot of seat belt work done in some of these older classic Porsches. This is one place here where you could really stand out. So let's see exactly what it takes to take one of these apart, and then we'll figure out how to put it back together. So I've got one successfully done here. This one here we're going to put together piece by piece. This is really the difficult part here. Other than that, it's basically just reconditioning all the pieces that we can take apart. All right, let's try and explain this in a progressive order as to what you need to do to take them apart, restore them, and then bring them back together. So one of the things you want to look out for is if you've got any surviving tags at all in any kind of usable condition, you want to try and keep those if you can. I haven't found any replica tags that you can buy to restore these. So this is made by Hickok, and the date code on here is 1966. Last surviving tag, so we definitely want to put that back in there. And so how I got this apart originally was separating right here where the fold is. So there's the stitching you want to cut between there. As you peel back this edge here, you peel that away, you can get your razor blade in there and just gently cut those threads as you're pulling and razor blading at the same time. And eventually you'll be able to peel this away. You can pluck out all your stitches with an awl, and you'll be in really good shape there. Then you can get your buckle off, and then that's ready for rechroming. And that'll be the same for the other end too. Just peel that back and cut those. And we've restitched in the original Porsche pattern, so that's exactly like it was before we cut them and took them apart. I took a photograph of this pattern and then traced it off and gave it to our friends at Autos International, and they was able to replicate that right on the money. So we got real nice quality stitch work there, exactly like it should be to the original. And then also I'm replacing the screw and nylock here. So this is our original screw. It's kind of like a half nylock that they used on there, but some of mine were missing, so I'm just going to go with a new set on all four there, and that gets it back to new condition. And then we just replated these here with some Caswell zinc plating, and that turned out real nice. And then for a buckle, this is really the most difficult part to get apart here. So what's happening here, they've got a pin that runs all the way through and connects both sides of the latch here. You can see how that works there. And on the one side, I have chiseled off the retainer that actually held that in originally. This side doesn't come off, but this side where the flattened end is pressed in there. It's either pressed in there or barbed in there or some kind of a threaded fit in there. But whatever it is, I couldn't undo it. I had to literally just chisel it off of there to pull this pin out. Once that pin comes out, then everything pretty much comes apart. The other thing that's going to happen in there is where your seatbelt rolls over this roller here. The way you get that out there is you're just going to have to get a screwdriver right down in here, nice big screwdriver, and just pry this edge, and that'll pop right out of there. Then you have all your pieces ready for restoration. So once you have everything apart, then this is pretty much what it's going to look like, ready for restoration. This has been sent out to advanced plating for rechroming. And one of the reasons it's worth an attempt at restoring your original seatbelts is because the aftermarket seatbelts don't have this embossed area here, and they don't have this real nice quality rolled edging on here. Really makes for a nice seatbelt, and then you can use a replacement Porsche badge in there, and that looks really, really nice. Take a look at our original badges here. So I got these from Aussie Sales, and a perfect fit and a beautiful reproduction. Got your top half and bottom half, and if you can find somebody to be real careful with your bottom half, you can keep all your text and engraving still in there. Hopefully yours will be good enough core where you can get away with that. Advanced Plating did these and did a beautiful job working these out. I actually had a couple dents in here that they managed to press out and get them back to new condition. and then taking a look at the parts here inside the buckle. So that's pretty much what we're working with there. And this is the main culprit here as to how to get these seat belts put back together. This is what holds it all together. Originally, this is what we've peened off the end here, and we have to just figure out a way to put this back together without this drifting back out. That's going to be the trick. And then the last thing we'll go over here before we start to reassemble our buckle there is how we got our webbing back to a real nice deep black condition. So originally when I took these apart out of the car, they were pretty grubby looking. They had some fraying on them, a little bit of fuzz, and so started with a good bath using some laundry detergent, a good rinse, and then let them dry outside on a warm day. The problem with replacing this webbing with a modern webbing is modern webbing doesn't really look or feel like these older webbings. This is nice and supple. It's kind of like an old pair of jeans, broken in, nice and thick, and you just don't get that feel off of modern webbing. Modern webbing seems to be more rigid, more thin, and different dimensions. Also, we have 4-row configuration here. Some webbings will have 5 or more or less patterns in there. So to keep original, we really want to use the original belts if we can do it. And switching to a plastic spoon. Much gentler on the belts. So I use 2 of these 7-ounce containers in that about 1.5 gallon size pot. Stainless steel pot. Got it up to boiling hot temperature, put them in there. And I did my dyeing for about 1 hour, and I followed the directions to the letter as far as the dyeing goes, the stirring and agitating while we're doing it, and then give them a really good rinse. I actually rinsed mine twice, and that seemed to work better than one rinse. Okay, so that's pretty much the restoration process. So let's go ahead and try and put this back together, and we get our seatbelt in the car. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to drill a hole through this pin, and we're going to use a roll pin to put that back in place. Now, Porsche seemed to like roll pins a lot when they built their car, and I'm drilling through this nut here just to try and get the right size drill bit to work with the right size roll pin. I'm using a 3/32 roll pin and a 1/16 drill bit to get it to work out. And then we have to custom modify this roll pin just a little bit just on the entry once we get our hole drilled in there. So let's go ahead and drill a hole, see what that looks like, and we'll get our roll pin set up. So to set it up for the final go-around, this piece has to go into the top lid first. That's going to be the configuration of our spring. And then the bottom is going to sit down like so. Okay, now we're going to load it. Right there. So looking at the first one here that already has our roll pin in location, you can see not a whole lot of room to work in there, but we do have enough to get the job done. So we have to snap exactly where that pin is going to go. And resting up against the side of this lower buckle, that's what's going to keep the pin locked in there. Right there. Okay, there's our mark. Let's go drill it, and we're going to go in steps. So we're going to start real small and then work up to 1/16. All right, here's a look at our drill bits. Real close in size, but starting with the small one first. And then we need to clean it up real good with some brake parts cleaner. Get the oil off of there. We're going to run some Loctite in there. We want to make sure that it grabs. Okay, wipe that off and dry it. And then looking at a roll pin here, so we're going to have to taper the entry of our roll pin because we just don't have a lot of room to get a hammer in there and really give it a good whack to get it started. So if we bevel that, that should drift in there nicely. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll put her in. Okay, so we got her put back together so you can see our location there, have good access, and everything's working like it should. Let's go ahead and drift that in there. And just a dab of Loctite. That's going to help lubricate it, help it slide in, and then hold it once we get it there. There it goes. And then once we get her started, we'll take a big nail set that'll straddle the dimension there. And then look inside there. You can see it's not going to interfere with anything. And then next we need to thread our belt through here and then install our pinch roller. So the notch is going to go up in this configuration here once we're in place, just to kind of show you because it gets hidden once we get that belt in there. And then just have to bend this, flex this a little bit, snap it in there. Really not too bad. And then before we slide our webbing into the buckle, we want to make sure that our configurations are exactly the way they should be. So this one here has already been done, and this will be the configuration exactly how the passenger side will set up, and stitching patterns and overlap patterns. That's our passenger side. And then our driver side will be very similar, but it is opposite. So we've got to really pay attention to how the buckle's going to slide in, which direction the badge is facing, and also our overlaps and stitching. Okay, looking at our driver's side, this is going to be our pull adjustment here. So this is just going to come through the bottom like that. And then we'll slide this right in here and snap it in. There it is. And then one last tip before we install these on the car, something I've kind of forgot about here. So if you're working with your original seatbelts and you have a little bit of fuzz, makes them look a little bit weathered, a little bit worn, or some of your edges are frayed, you can take a lighter and a gentle flame. You want to move quickly, and you can just lightly burn back any kind of fray or fuzzy, because these are polyester belts, so they will melt back. You don't want to stay with the flame too long. You'll end up with some damage, but it will take that fuzz off of there and bring it back to new condition. And then installation really couldn't be simpler. Just one screw, one nut there. We're going to bolt this in right in there, tighten that up. Let's go ahead and put that on there and see what she looks like. All right, let's have a close-up look at our mounts here, see how everything turned out. Looks to be nice and tight in there, and definitely plenty safe enough to drive with. And then a finished look at our overall product, managing to save our serial numbers and one tag. Just a beautiful finishing touch for our Recaro seats. Okay guys, so we got us some seats, some seat belts. If we had some doors and an engine, we'd be in really good shape. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.